Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here for a reason. You've carried a weight in your heart for years, because of how people have treated you in love, in friendship, and even in family relationships. You've been made to feel like you were too much to handle, too difficult to love, too guarded to be worth the effort. But the truth is, you were never hard to love. You were just hard to fool, and that's the part people couldn't stand. This is your story, and today we're breaking it down into 7 truths you need to hear so you can heal, release the guilt, and finally see yourself the way God sees you. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just PR. We content, it's a divine revelation for the chosen ones, and a heartfelt thank you to everyone who's been supporting through super thanks. God bless you abundantly. Your love, your presence, and your faithfulness have not gone unnoticed. To all of you who keep showing up, listening, and walking in alignment, I'm truly grateful. If your spirit resonates with this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random, it's a prophetic code, a spiritual signal to the Most High that you're ready to walk in clarity, ready to be guarded by discernment, and ready to stop letting manipulators and pretenders into your sacred space. Not everyone will make it to the end of this message, only those truly chosen. Those who stay will gain deeper wisdom, emotional strength, and divine confirmation that you are not hard to love, you're simply hard to fool. This isn't something you hear once and forget. This is a living word, a mirror to your soul, and a blueprint for your protection. Come back to it whenever your spirit feels drained or confused, because each time you hear it, another layer of truth will be revealed, and your discernment will grow sharper. Let's begin. The gift of discernment made you different. From as far back as you can remember, there was something about you that didn't fit into the world's mold. Even as a child, you noticed what others ignored. While your friends might have been focused on the surface, the smiles, the charm, the appearance, you were drawn to what was beneath. You could hear the tone behind the words. You could see the spirit behind the action. You could feel the weight behind the silence. This wasn't just being cautious or overthinking. This was a spiritual endowment, the gift of discernment. God planted it in you before you were even formed in your mother's womb. He wired your spirit like a finely tuned instrument, able to detect the slightest shift in atmosphere, able to hear the unspoken, able to see through layers of pretense. You weren't just reading faces, you were reading hearts. And because of this, the world experienced you differently. With people whose hearts were pure, there was an ease, an openness, a comfort in your presence. But with those carrying deception, selfishness, or hidden motives, your very existence was a mirror they couldn't look into for long. They couldn't charm you into submission. They couldn't lure you with empty promises. They couldn't run the same tired games they played on others, because you would sense it instantly. You've always been able to spot the difference between kindness and manipulation, between interest and agenda, between love and control. You've seen the fake smiles that hide envy. You've heard the "I'm happy for you" that's laced with silent resentment. You felt the cold undertone in the middle of warm words. And while others fell for the performance, you couldn't, not because you were trying to be suspicious, but because God made you spiritually awake. But here's the thing about discernment. The enemy hates it. He knows that when you see clearly, you can't be true. So he used people, even those close to you, to try and distort your self-perception. They called you too picky, too judgmental, paranoid, or impossible to please. They made you feel like maybe you were the one with the problem. And for a season, you may have even tried to dim your gift, to silence your inner knowing, just so you could fit in and avoid the accusations. But the truth is, you were never hard to love. You were just hard to fool. You weren't guarded. You were discerned. You weren't distant. You were divinely selective. You weren't cold. You were protecting the warmth of your heart from those who would misuse it. And here's the deeper reality. Your discernment has saved your life more times than you realize. There are betrayals you never experienced, because you saw the signs early and stepped away. There are deals you never took because you sensed the greed hidden behind the handshake. There are relationships you never entered because your spirit caught what your eyes couldn't yet see. God didn't give you this gift to isolate you forever. He gave it to preserve you until the right alignments arrive. The people He's sending your way won't be threatened by your discernment. They'll feel honored by it. They'll see it as proof that you value truth over performance, loyalty over flattery, and authenticity over appearance. The enemy tried to make you believe your discernment was a curse that made you too much for love. But God says it's the very reason you'll finally receive a love that's real, because you'll be able to recognize it without confusion. And when that moment comes, you won't need to convince yourself it's safe. Your spirit will know, and your heart will rest. Love for you is sacred, not casual. For you, love has never been a light matter. It's not a weekend hobby. It's not a casual pastime to fill an empty schedule, or to distract from loneliness. For you, love is holy ground. It's a sacred space, where two souls agree to build something eternal, something rooted in trust, loyalty and truth. You don't throw the word love around lightly, because you know it carries weight. You've seen what happens when it's misused. Hearts get broken, trust gets shattered, and souls get wounded. This is why you've walked away from people who had no problem lying to your face while holding your hand. You've cut ties with those who could profess affection one moment and disappear the next without explanation. You've distanced yourself from people who only loved you when it was easy, but abandoned you when you needed their presence the most. You understand that consistency is not optional in love. It's the foundation. You've learned, sometimes the hard way, that not everyone who calls you baby or dear truly means it. Not everyone who smiles in your face has your heart in mind. Not everyone who claims to care will protect you when it matters. And because of that, you've refused to settle for counterfeits, no matter how lonely, misunderstood or pressured you felt in the moment. The world may call you too picky or too guarded, but what they don't understand is that your standard isn't built on ego. It's built on divine instruction. You don't measure love by how exciting it feels at the start. You measure it by how loyal it remains when the storms hit. You don't settle for someone who simply likes you. You wait for someone who honors you. You don't entertain someone who just wants access to your body. You look for the one who wants to protect your soul. This is not about being hard to get. It's about being hard to deceive. It's about protecting your destiny from entanglements that would drain your energy, dim your light, and derail your calling. You're not looking for a person who completes you because God has already made you whole. You're looking for a partner who complements your mission and matches your spirit. Love for you is not about how many flowers they can buy, but about whether they can water the garden of your soul. It's not about how loudly they can declare it in public, but about how deeply they can live it in private. It's not about how fast they can sweep you off your feet, but about how steadfast they remain when life's battles try to knock you down. That's why you're not in a rush. That's why you'd rather walk alone for a season than be tied to the wrong spirit for a lifetime. You know that the kind of love God has promised you requires patience, preparation, and discernment, and when it finally arrives, it won't feel like chaos. It will feel like peace. It won't demand you to shrink. It will make room for you to expand. It won't come to compete with your purpose. It will come to run alongside it. And here's the truth that confuses the people who misjudge you. You're not unwilling to love. You're simply unwilling to waste it. Chapter 3. They wanted access, not connection. One of the deepest heartbreaks you've experienced in life didn't come from love that failed in the traditional sense. It came from the painful awakening that some people never truly wanted you. They never wanted your heart, your soul, or your truth. They only wanted what you carried. They wanted the fruit of your life without ever sowing into your soil. They were drawn to your light, but not willing to walk with you through the darkness. They loved the way your presence made them feel, but they didn't want the responsibility of truly seeing you. They admired the strength you carried, but they didn't want to understand the pain it took to build it. They wanted your energy because it revived them when they were empty, without caring how much it drained you. They wanted your wisdom because it gave them shortcuts in life, without ever valuing the cost you paid to gain it. They wanted your resources, your time, your network, your help, because you gave freely, thinking they valued you, when in truth they valued what they could get from you. They wanted your presence because it elevated them in the eyes of others, but they didn't care if your soul was weary in private. And when they couldn't get more from you, when they realized you weren't going to keep giving endlessly without reciprocity, when they saw you were no longer willing to be drained in the name of love or loyalty, the mask slipped. Suddenly, you were difficult. Suddenly, you were selfish. Suddenly, they claimed you had walls, or that you've changed. But the truth, you didn't harden, you healed. You didn't become cold, you became careful. You didn't put up walls to keep love out, you set boundaries to keep the wrong people from coming in. You finally recognized that constant access to you is a privilege, not a right. You learned that not everyone who smiles at you has your best interest at heart. You realized that some people come close only to take what they need and disappear. You began to see that the ones who loved you for real would never make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. And yes, walking this path meant losing people you thought would be in your life forever, but it also meant gaining something far more precious, your peace. You stopped giving sacred parts of yourself to unworthy hands. You stopped allowing people to feed from you without ever pouring back into you. Now you know the difference between connection and access. Connection is mutual, it's safe, nourishing, and built on respect. Access without connection is dangerous. It's one-sided, draining, and transactional. One makes you grow, the other makes you shrink. And you have made your choice. You will no longer entertain people who only want the benefits of you without the responsibility of loving you. You will no longer be a free well for those who never show up with a bucket of water for you. You will no longer open your door to those who only knock when they're in need. From now on, your energy, your love and your presence are reserved for those who value. Saying no to the wrong people isn't just self-protection, it's an act of self-respect. And every time you protect your heart, you are also protecting your destiny. Chapter 4. Your silence exposed their intention. Over time, you've come to understand something powerful. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. In a world where people expect you to constantly explain yourself, defend yourself, and prove yourself, you've chosen to step back and let your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. There was a time when you felt the need to make everything clear, to overcompensate so people wouldn't misunderstand you, to bend over backwards just to be accepted. You would talk, explain, justify, and even apologize for things that weren't wrong, all in an attempt to keep the peace, or keep people close. But you learned the hard way that over-explaining only benefits the wrong people. The ones who truly love you never needed an explanation to believe in you. So you stopped. You stopped running after those who kept walking away. You stopped writing long messages trying to clear the air with people who had already made up their mind. You stopped proving your value to people who could see it all along but chose to overlook it. And when you did, the silence started speaking. Silence has a way of pulling the mask off. Without your words filling the air, people's real intentions became obvious. Those who only came around when you were giving, helping, or entertaining them disappeared when you went quiet. Those who thrived on your constant attention grew uncomfortable when you stopped feeding them with. Those who only kept you close for convenience drifted away when you were no longer their safety net. But here's the beauty: the ones who truly loved you leaned in closer. The ones who saw your worth even in your quietest seasons. They didn't need you to explain every move. They trusted your heart. They didn't disappear because you were no longer pouring into them. They poured into you instead. Silence taught you something explanations never could. The difference between attention and affection. Attention can be bought, begged for, or borrowed. Affection is freely given and deeply rooted. Silence also revealed the gap between convenience and commitment. Convenience is there when it's easy. Commitment stays even when it costs something. When you stopped speaking, you gave people the opportunity to show who they really were, and they did. You learned that the ones meant to be in your life will walk toward you, not away from you, in the quiet. The ones meant to love you won't be confused by your boundaries, they will respect them. Now your silence is no longer just a reaction, it's a filter. It separates the ones who are connected to your soul from the ones connected to your usefulness. It protects your peace and preserves your energy, and most importantly, it gives God room to fight battles you no longer feel the need to fight with your own words. You've learned that silence isn't empty, it's full of answers, and those answers have freed you from chasing what was never meant for you. And chapter 5. God was protecting you from the wrong bonds. There was a time when you thought certain people were essential to your happiness, your success, even your survival. You imagined they would be by your side forever, celebrating your wins, supporting your dreams, and walking with you through every valley. But now, with the clarity God has given you, you see a deeper truth. You couldn't have lived with them and still fulfilled your purpose. Some connections you cherished would have slowly drained the very life out of your spirit. They would have consumed your energy, your focus, and your joy, until there was nothing left for the work God called you to do. Other connections would have quietly redirected your destiny, pulling you toward a life that looked good on the surface, but would have left your soul empty. And then there were the dangerous ones, the connections that could have outright destroyed you, sabotaging everything God placed in your hands before it even had a chance to grow. When you think back, you remember the sting of their betrayal, the confusion of their rejection, the emptiness when they suddenly walked away. In those moments, it felt like loss. It felt like abandonment. It felt unfair. You questioned God, wondering why he would let people you trusted so deeply hurt you so badly, but now you understand it wasn't punishment, it was protection. God knew what your heart couldn't see at the time. He knew the conversations they were having when you weren't around. He knew the envy that hid behind their smiles. He knew the subtle ways they would undermine your confidence and your calling. He knew that some of the very people you were clinging to were the same ones who would have secretly celebrated your downfall. So he allowed the separation, sometimes through conflict, sometimes through betrayal, and sometimes in the most confusing way possible, sudden silence. He didn't remove them to break you, he removed them to save you. He was preserving the purity of your calling, the strength of your spirit, and the direction of your destiny. What you thought was loss was actually a rescue mission. You were being pulled out of spiritual quicksand before you even realized you were sinking. You were being set free from hidden chains you didn't know you were wearing, and even though it hurt, that separation created space for the right bonds to form, the ones that would pour into you, protect you, and push you toward the fullness of your purpose. Looking back now, you can see it clearly. Every closed door was a shield. Every goodbye was a divine redirection. Every loss was really a layer of protection between you and something that could have cost you everything. God was never trying to leave you empty. He was making sure you were available for the people, places, and promises that would truly honor your soul. Some bonds break you, others build you, and when God steps in, he will make sure you're connected only to the ones who were built to help you rise. Chapter 6. The right love will honor your guard. The right person, whether they enter your life as a friend, a romantic partner, or a trusted ally, will not be intimidated by the walls you've had to build. They will not shame you for the boundaries that protect your heart. Instead, they will see those boundaries for what they truly are, evidence that you value yourself, that you have learned from your past, and that you refuse to compromise the sacredness of your spirit. When the wrong people approached you, they saw your guard as an obstacle. They tried to climb over it, break it down, or guilt you into opening the gate before you were ready. They resented that you no longer gave out your trust freely. They took offense to the fact that you now require consistency, honesty, and proof of good intentions before you let someone into your inner world. But the right person will never treat your caution as an insult. They'll treat it as a sign that your heart is precious and worth protecting. They will understand that your boundaries are not walls meant to keep love out, but gates that ensure the right love gets in. They will not demand that you tear them down. They will simply knock and wait for you to open. They will not take your caution personally. They will honor it as a part of the beauty of who you are. The right love will never accuse you of being too much, too guarded, too careful, or too high maintenance. Instead, they will silently thank God that you didn't lower your standards for someone else before they arrived. They will see the years of battles you fought just to get to this level of self-worth, and they will respect the journey that shaped you. With the right love, safety will not come from you lowering your standards to make someone stay. Safety will come from them rising to meet your standards without hesitation. You will not have to explain why you have certain rules for your life. They will naturally move in alignment with. You will not have to beg them to treat you with care. They will instinctively know how to handle a heart like yours. And perhaps most importantly, the right love will never try to trick you into letting your guard down just so they can hurt you. They will not perform kindness for a season just to gain your trust, only to disappear or betray you later. Their consistency will speak for itself. Their presence will feel steady. Their words will match their actions over and over again, until you realize that you no longer have to watch your back in their presence. The right love will make you feel at peace without making you feel naive. They will make you feel valued without making you feel indebted. They will add to your life without subtracting from your soul. And when you look at them, you will know not because they told you, but because they showed you that this is the kind of love worth keeping the gate open for. You will realize that love was never meant to be a battle you fight alone, but a shelter where you can finally rest. You will see that the right love doesn't just honor your guard, it helps you carry it. You will finally understand that your boundaries were never the problem, they were the protection that led the right love straight to you. And in that moment, you will silently thank every heartbreak, every rejection, and every lonely season, because they prepared you to recognize this kind of love when it arrived. Chapter 7. You were never hard to love. You were God's treasure, chosen. Let this truth wash over you like healing rain. You were never hard to love. The world may have tried to label you as complicated, too emotional, too quiet, too intense, or too guarded, but none of that was ever the truth. What really happened was this. People who wanted easy access without responsibility found your depth intimidating. Those who only knew surface-level affection couldn't comprehend the oceans within you. And those who mistook your standards for stubbornness never realized they were looking at a soul that had been purified in the fire. God Himself designed you with intention, layer upon layer. He made your heart tender enough to feel what others miss, yet discerning enough to spot deception before it reached your doorstep. He gave you eyes that see past the smile into the spirit, ears that can hear the weight behind the words, and a gut that tells you when something is off, even when you can't explain why. Your boundaries weren't born out of fear, but out of wisdom. They are the gates of a holy garden, meant to protect the beauty within, not to shut love out. You were not born to be everyone's choice. You were never created for mass approval. You were set apart for a divine connection, the kind of love that aligns with purpose, protects your peace, and calls forth your highest self. Your worth was never something to be debated, and your love was never meant to be handled with careless hands. Those who tried to exploit your kindness or drain your spirit may have walked away, but deep down they know they lost something irreplaceable. Your presence leaves a mark that can't be erased. The truth is, you were never too much. You were simply too real for those who preferred an illusion. You were never cold. You were cautious with who you gave your warmth to. You were never hard to love. You were just impossible to manipulate. And that chosen one is not a flaw. It is a divine safeguard. God didn't place you on this earth to be anyone's temporary. He hid you in plain sight, so only the one with pure intentions, spiritual maturity, and a God-given assignment could find you. One day you'll look back and realize why some doors had to close with finality, why certain people couldn't stay, and why love had to be delayed until you healed and grew into the fullness of your identity. Every unanswered text, every betrayal, and every goodbye was God building a wall of protection around your destiny. The love that is truly for you will not run from your standards. It will cherish them. It will honor your boundaries. It will meet you at your level and refuse to let you carry the weight alone. And when that love arrives, it will not just be a person. It will be a divine partnership. It will be a meeting of two purposes, a union that strengthens both of you to walk boldly into the future God has prepared. You will finally understand that you were never waiting for love. Love was waiting for you to be positioned in the place where it could thrive without fear or compromise. Remember this: treasures are never left out in the open where anyone can take them. They are hidden, guarded, and protected until the appointed time. And you, chosen one, have always been God's treasure, priceless, irreplaceable, and destined to be placed in the hands that will recognize your value and never let you go.